Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hootie Who KSU Football Podcast. It's another week here. Wanted to get this out to you before the work week starts on Monday. Enjoying cooler than normal temperatures here in Georgia, so that's a good thing. Wanted to look at the first week of camp, kind of recap what we saw this past week and kind of what's coming up in the future episodes and the rest of this month as we get ready for the season opener on August 29th against Wake Forest. We'll do a Wake Forest breakdown a week before that game. We'll review that game I'm going to be there live, but I'd also like to watch it back the TV replay just to see what I missed, and then I'll kind of break that down, and then we'll do it again for the ending game and kind of keep that schedule as the season goes on. Hope everybody's doing well. Please follow, please like, please subscribe. Check out the Etsy store for any shirts, bumper stickers, anything like that. Lots of stuff on the Etsy store. Every proceed goes back to the running of this show. So I want to look at it. Well, let's just dive right into it. Pretty good week. Coach Mack, for those of you, I don't know my audience yet, so I'm kind of getting an idea a little bit. Obviously, if you're hopping on this, you're a fan of KSU, so welcome, or another football program. But Coach Mack starts his first fall practice, getting ready to go. Fall camp officially started July 29th, so this week, and we kind of got right to it with helmets only. One thing, Coach Mack coming from, he's a Memphis native, coming back from North Carolina Central as a head coach, assistant coaches at Rice, University of Tennessee, and most recently the Jacksonville Jaguars running back coach. Again, his offensive philosophy is a spread offense. Speed, not really huddling a whole lot, but just kind of going. So we'll kind of break that down this week a little bit and go over it next week on next week's episode. So, like I said, camp started on the 29th. Funny enough, Georgia was going through quite the heat wave earlier this week, which is brought up by Coach Mack and discussing, day to day, how everybody's doing. Some coach speak there for sure, but overall, they started with helmets and shells. Not full pads yet, that's coming. But definitely have to get acclimated to this weather. It's funny, my son plays football, and we had a message sent out to us by the coaching staff at a high school level, and they were saying what we're going to do with the heat. Heat index in some parts of Georgia were around 109. So you got to definitely be careful with that. So they kind of talked about, the high school talked about how they're going to kind of watch that. Well, you kind of hear something with that with Coach Mack in his post-practice interviews. And what he was saying was, we got to get acclimated. We got to get acclimated to the weather first and foremost. Additionally, I agree with and is very smart, is making sure that we are concentrating on injuries or lack thereof by not overdoing it the first couple days of camp. Pads will come out, bodies will start flying soon enough, but no reason to take an injury in fall practice as you're getting ready for the season. We need those starters in as best condition as they possibly can be going into the season opener at Wake Forest. So definitely somewhat conservative a little bit with hitting, but again, that is coming. You got to build that endurance for sure with this heat. It's going to be hot. Georgia's hot. For those of you who don't know, Georgia is quite warm for sure, and without any kind of breeze or anything like you get when you're in the ocean in parts of Florida. It's just that stifling, humid heat just takes the water right out of your system, and it can be very dangerous. So I'm sure they're definitely taking precautions with that, especially given the amount of transfers that the team has, people coming from different climates. Dexter Williams II, for example, from down here, but was playing in Indiana for a year. He was at Georgia Southern last year, which, Georgia Southern's even worse. I mean, just swamp heat. So he's probably good to go, but definitely those bigger bodies like the offensive line, et cetera, defensive linemen, definitely need to kind of get used to, going through that much liquid every single day, just drying your body out. It was brutal this week, I'm telling you. I got in my car, I got off work, I got in my car, it was 120 inside of my car. So we left the doors open there, cooled that down before we got into it. A remote start's a beautiful thing for those of you who know, It looks like Williams looked good this week. I mean, I could have told you from the spring game, he was obviously the starter, the most arm talent out there, threw the deep ball really well, mobile. A little bit slight. I mean, we'll see how he holds up this season, but definitely has the wheels. But he can throw, and a lot of times what you end up getting with these types of offenses, you have quarterbacks who can run really well, but once it comes to throwing the ball with accuracy, with power, they usually lack in that. So, or the defense has to be tricked to have something wide open. Williams doesn't appear to be like that. I mean, he's got a big time arm, accurate, but also has the wheels. He really likes to throw the ball too, so that's a good thing. So that's a very dangerous weapon to have in the backfield, someone who fits this offense very, very well, and is definitely a weapon that I'm sure they'll lean on as the year begins. Chase Belcher, Coleman Bennett are your primary running backs. Again, solid running backs, good players, hard-nosed, gotta love it. They're going to get a lot of work. I don't think with this offense, and a lot of things we don't know yet until we see it in action, but that's the thing about having multiple running backs. Instead of just sticking with one who will just get worn out because you're moving so quickly, to be able to rotate with multiple talented running backs makes you always someone fresh coming in is the idea. And, different running styles for sure, but still fresh bodies, fresh legs can go a long way with gaining yards, getting those first downs, which keeps the offense on there, does not allow the defense to substitute, and speed, and that's how you score points. So I think that's definitely going to be their philosophy, is probably use a running back per series and see what they're doing, see how long the defense is on the field to determine a rotation, but definitely trying to keep the running backs on the field as long as possible and prevent the defense from doing substitutions. That way the defense can never adjust. They get worn out. By the time the fourth quarter comes around, they've got no gas left, and you put up some points that way. So we'll see. We'll see kind of what happens with that. Wide receivers, definitely an area of weakness as far as what is known, meaning that we lost a lot of wide receivers with the transfer portal, graduation. So having to replace wide receivers is going to be a challenge. Someone definitely needs to step up. They don't have any wide receivers that are tried and true, really. So we're going to see what we've got there. The good thing about this offense is that, using your tight ends, which got some good tight ends coming back, your running backs catching the ball out of the backfield, and again, with the mobility of the quarterback, you can work around an underdeveloped star, we'll say, at wide receiver until they kind of show themselves. What you can't work out with, though, is an offensive line. And so Coach Mack had said this week that they're just kind of putting them up against it and just seeing who rises to the top, trying to find that starting five. So still working all the offensive line. It's a little concerning. You kind of would like to have that sorted out, but based on, how guys condition in the summer, people coming in, people going, offensive line is the key to every single football team, regardless of level. So with the offensive line, they think they have an idea. I'm not willing to announce what that is yet, but they think they have an idea. So we'll see. We'll see what they kind of go with the offensive line with the starting five. That's something they got to have. And definitely a lot of movement. It's a funny offense. If you've ever watched it, I mean, you can watch Tennessee, for example, is the most recent team that's running this same offense. You definitely got to be able to be mobile, to hold onto your blocks, but almost like a zone to where you're engaging, you're getting off and going to the next level. So you definitely need some athletes out there, some strong athletes who are well conditioned, because, you want to, just like we were saying with running backs, you don't want to rotate out. You want to rotate out as few players as possible, because as soon as you rotate someone out, someone else, the defense now has the opportunity to rotate in, which slows you down. So you want a solid starting five that can stay in the game, that is well conditioned, that is used to the heat, and the pace that the offense is going on in order to be most successful. That isn't a revolutionary thought either. That's probably true with every offense in any football level, from middle school all the way to the professionals. You would love a starting five that's rock solid, that has good injury luck, and is consistent all year long for the most consistency and benefit long term with the program. If you're looking at defense, the defense side of the ball. Now, here's something I didn't realize. I saw a stat this week I didn't know. With the defense, 80% of the starters are returning, which is great. The offense, not so much, but the defense should be well put together as far as starters knowing what a starter's job is supposed to be. Now, there are new concepts they have to learn running a 3-3-5. They're definitely going to have to get used to that system, but to have the experience of game experience coming back goes a long way, especially given that defenses usually acclimate a lot faster than offenses do. So to already have that defense in place, definitely a new, 3-3-5 is a brand new scheme. If you've never done it before, never seen it before, there's a lot going on in a 3-3-5. But the idea is that if you can hold the front line, that you should be good at stopping the run. And you definitely have a lot of people in the secondary that can prevent any passes from getting over you. So we'll see. We'll see what the defense is. They're definitely off to a better start than the offense is. It's just as far as returning players. So consistency is always a good thing, but a new voice with the defensive coordinator, a new scheme, it's going to take some getting used to. Offensively, the offense is returning 80% of their, that is wrong. The offense, though, was definitely a struggle. It's one of the worst in the country. And that has to turn, and which is why you bring in an offensive mind like Mac anyways, is that you got to get these points scored. You had to do something. 2-10 last year just wasn't good enough. I mean, one of those wins is against Liberty, which came out of nowhere, which was great. That's a great win and something to definitely build upon. But the offense nationally was one of the worst teams in the country, and statistically speaking, that's not my opinion. That's a stat. You can look it up. They were just not good enough. And if you're not putting up points, you can't win games no matter how good your defense plays. In watching a lot last year, what I could tell you is the effort was there on both sides. The effort was there, just the scheme wasn't. Defense, though, kept them in games a lot last year. I thought their defense played with a lot of heart last year, and to have that many starters coming back, I think that I think with that heart and that attitude and that mindset, I think that will continue on. So I think defensively speaking, I think they're in great shape. But offensively speaking, it's got to be better. And why can't it be better? You've got a bunch of new starters coming in. You've got a lot more talent. You got a brand new scheme. It should be better. I'll just say that. It should be a better offense. Now, how that correlates into wins and losses, who's to say? Who knows? There's so many things that go into a football game that you just don't know what's going to happen. So we'll see kind of where this goes. And I've told you, if you've listened to this since February, I still think 6-6 is achievable. I truly believe that. But just like every team, regardless of level right now, every team that thinks that their team has a chance to have that magical season, that their team can achieve, that their team is able to have a successful season, to sneak in for a national title, things like that. So everybody has hope right now. Everybody has a positive outlook. No one's boo-hooing anything or being negative. But once the games start playing and, you kind of see what you're working with, you kind of see your pros and cons, your warts, if you will, well, you'll adjust on the fly. And even the first 2 weeks for that matter, isn't going to be a great gauge of where this team is. The first 2 weeks, I mean, if there's an upset, I think it happens at the Wake Forest game. But even if there isn't, even if you get your tail handed to you in those first 2 games on the road at Wake Forest and Indiana, it doesn't mean that the rest of the season's a loss. It just kind of says, okay, we're not there yet. We're not there competing yet. But we can compete with our conference. And if, for some strange reason, they are able to pull an upset, well, that changes everything, right? That changes your entire outlook of the season and what is possible. I think what I'm looking for is the competitiveness of it. Is it that Sisters of the Poor team that you play when you're these bigger teams in the ACC or the Big Ten, that you're paying them money? First of all, you're paying them money to come to your stadium to play, to guarantee a win, right? That's an easy win for these teams in their records, so they think about when they schedule it. But if you can pull an upset, and not only do you upset someone you're not supposed to, you also get paid to go and upset that person you weren't supposed to. But that changes everything. That changes the dynamic of what is possible. Like I said, I'm looking for competitiveness. I'm looking for you to stay in the game, to make those teams work really hard, work harder than they may have thought they were going to have to work. A lot happens between week 1 and week 2. In playing against that talent, especially in Indiana, based on last year, it definitely kind of lets you know what it looks like at that level with that kind of speed. Now you take that back down to Conference USA, and the first home game is against Merrimack. That's a win. And then Arkansas State. So with Arkansas State, that will be a good one to kind of judge where we are as far as on a common level, basically, with a team that is supposed to be at the same talent level of Kennesaw State. So a lot of things to see this year. I think it's a very exciting year. I wouldn't be covering this if I didn't think that. I wouldn't be wasting your time, or I guess my time, in giving you a product if I wasn't excited or passionate about doing it. So I am definitely excited to see where this goes. I'm excited to see, this program that's so young, that what does it do? Does it make a name for itself? Because if it makes a name for itself, it's going to be fascinating to see kind of where this institution could go to. We talked about previous episodes, the recruiting base here in the South. So that's still there. All you need is for people to come to your school. Why do they want to come to your school? They're going to be on TV. They're going to get paid. And they're going to have a chance to win something. Those are the 3 things. You can rank those however you want. The being paid is going clearly to the top here in college football, but we'll see what kind of executive orders or legislation comes through to kind of tailor that a little bit. I still believe what I said last week is that I think it's very appealing to high school players who may not get as much attention now that the transfer portal is such a thing versus years past. So yeah, I mean, I think that you have a successful season, you're on television, and you can offer starting time for those more talented high school players. I mean, it's very fascinating to see kind of where this will go and what's possible. I guess we will see in time. After the first few weeks, we'll have an idea of kind of what this season is. I think it's a lot better than the last 2 seasons. I truly believe that. Why? I don't know. I think I like the philosophy of the coaches. It doesn't seem like you're running an offense that is more challenging to learn based on the player personnel that you have. The offense that we are seeing is going to be ones that have been used in that their originality came from high school, but even on the college level with West Virginia years ago, 20 years ago, probably now, we couldn't compete with the upper echelon teams, so we decided to create an offense that kept us in games. The App State-Michigan game, for example, before the spread was widely used. I mean, it was an offense. You created an offense based on the players that you had. And all those teams had this thing in common, which was you had smaller offensive linemen that were athletic. You had a mobile quarterback. and you had a rock solid running back. With those three components right there, you can get some wins. Now, throw in that the tight ends we're returning are rock solid, and let a wide receiver emerge from the group. And, you're playing with something, because the defensive side will keep you in a game. It's just what the offense is able to do. And so if we're watching that Wake Forest game, if we're watching that Indiana game, I won't count Merrimack, but if we're watching the Arkansas State game and the offense is getting first downs, now we've got something. Now we've got something, because the defense will feed off what the offense is doing. And I thought a lot of times last year in watching it that the defense gave everything they possibly could, but that the offense just wasn't getting first down. So as a defensive player, you're coming right back on the field and without a break. And we're all human, right? We're all human at the end of the day. It's like, why am I killing myself when I don't get any support from the other side of the ball? I mean, we're going to get a 3 and out here, but we're going to be back on the field in 5 minutes. So both of them feed off of each other. So let's see what we're working with. A very exciting season to cover Kennesaw State. I'm glad you're here at the Hootie Hoo KSU Football Podcast. Again, like and subscribe. Follow along. I'll post these every week on Sunday, so you have them for your Monday commute. Like I said last week, as we start going into the season, I'll do a preview of the upcoming game. Once the game is played, I'll do a review of that game, and then I'll do another preview. The only one that is going to be really a quick turnaround is going to be those Tuesday night games. So we'll talk about that before those come up. Next week, I'd like to, again, review what's transpired the second week of fall practice. Also, I want to take a deeper dive in looking at Coach Mack's scheme, kind of what can we expect a little bit. I think we should do that next week. My biggest critic is my son, who is on here. He's awesome, but always positive, but did say, hey, listen, it's been a little while. It's been a little while since February, March. Maybe we can go back over what all the coaches are bringing and kind of what the players are looking at. So I'd like to do that a little bit as well. So let's look at offense next week. Then we can talk about defense the week after. That then builds directly into the preview for the Wake Forest game. So we'll try that, and we'll kind of see where we are. We'll see kind of what's coming out in the news and what the coaches are saying, what the players are saying. We'll do all those things. But just a great first week. No news is good news. And that was the funny thing in getting ready for the show this week, is that there isn't a lot of news. And I like that. I like not having news, because a lot of the times the news that you hear is never good news. As far as someone got injured you weren't expecting, it sidetracks the entire season. So that didn't happen. It seems like the coaches are being very smart with their players right now as we're getting acclimated to the weather, to the tempo of the offense, to the grueling nature of the sport. So I like all those things, and it goes back to an experienced coach. It's not a first-timer. It's someone who has been there before. And that plays a big role, not only practices, but offense, but also game time. If you've been there, that whole thing, act like you've been there. Well, to act like you've been there, you need to have the experience of being there, right? So I feel, as from a game point of view, that he also seems to be a pretty positive individual, definitely a cool head on his shoulders. So I'm really excited to see what he's like when the bullets start flying. So we'll see what we've kind of got with this team and with our coaching staff as the season begins. So thank you so much again. Like and subscribe, and we will see you next week. Have a good week, everybody.